Okay, so these are called either 30, 60, 90 triangles or 45, 45, 90 triangles. And notice that the side lengths are not, only one side length is given. So we can't use Pythagorean theorem on these because we only have one of the three of the side lengths. So first we need to determine what kind of triangle it is based on the measurements that it gave you. This one has a 90 degree here, a 30 degree here, so this would make that 60, so we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And so now we need to determine whether we have short legs, long legs, and how we get from where to where. So notice that this is directly across from the 60, which makes this our long leg. So when we solve for y, we'll be solving for our long leg. The 30 over here is directly across from the x, so the x is our short leg, and then remember that our hypotenuse is always across from the right angle, so that makes the hypotenuse. So it looks like the hypotenuse has been given to us, and it's 17. So I have a little cheat sheet or rules right here. So we're not using this one because that's a 45, 45, 90. We're going to be using these rules. So in order to get from the hypotenuse, we have to go to the short leg first. We can't go hypotenuse, long leg, short leg. So we're going from the hypotenuse to the short leg. So in order to go from the 2x to the x, and remember we're going from something bigger to something smaller, so it wouldn't make sense to multiply in this case. You're always going to divide to get a smaller answer if we're going from something longer to something shorter. So we're going to divide by 2. So our short leg is going to be 17 divided by 2. And so from there, we can go from short leg to long leg. So let's take a look at our rules. So from go to short leg to long leg, we know we're going to multiply by something because we're going to something larger. So in order to go from a short leg to a long leg, we're going to multiply it by radical 3. So far, we have 17 over 2 times radical 3. So remember, we can't really multiply 17 and radical 3 because they're not like terms. So what that really is going to look like is 17 radical 3 over 2. And then you would look to see if the 17 and the 2 could reduce any further, and it doesn't. So this would give us our y, and our x up here is 17 over 2. Okay, so looking at this one, I see that I have a 90-degree angle here. I have a 30 here, which is going to make this 60 because I know that there are 180 degrees in a triangle. So x is going to be our hypotenuse because it's directly across from our right angle. Y is going to be our short leg because it's directly across from the 30. And 60 is going to be our long leg, or I'm sorry, 7 is going to be our long leg because it's directly across from the 60. So first let's start with a piece of information that it gave us, and it gave us a long leg of 7. So we can't go long leg, hypotenuse, short leg. We have to go long leg, short leg, hypotenuse. So let's take a look at our rules down here. We're not using this one because that's a 45, 45. 90 triangle. So let's take a look at these rules here. So in order to go from a long leg to a short leg, we need to think that we're going to be dividing by something because we need to go to a smaller number. So to go from short leg to long leg, we multiply by radical 3. And so this time we're going to divide by radical 3. So we're going to say 7 divided by radical 3. And then remember that we can't have radicals in our answer. So what we're going to do is multiply the top and the bottom by radical 3. And remember that any radical times by itself just means it's that number outside of the radical sign, because radical 3 times radical 3 equals radical 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. And then we're going to have 7 radical 3 because 7 and 3 are not like terms, so you can't say radical 21. So this is going to give us our y. So y is 7 radical 3 over 3, and I can't reduce the 3's because they're not like terms either. So now we need to go from the short leg to the hypotenuse. So I know that I'm multiplying by something to get it to be bigger. And I am going to multiply by 2. So when I do that, I'm left with 14 radical 3 over 3, and I can't reduce that any further, so that would be my x, which is also my hypotenuse. So taking a look at this one, I have a 45 degree here, 45 here, 90 here, which would mean that this one would have to be 45 because I have 180 degrees in a triangle, and I know that this is my hypotenuse, and notice that this is an isosceles triangle, so what that means is these two side lengths are the same and that these two angle measures are the same. So if the two side lengths are the same, if this side length right here given is 7, then I know that y also has to be 7 because they're going to be the same. And in order for me to get from a side to a hypotenuse, I'm going to multiply something because I'm going from something smaller to something bigger. So taking a look at my rules that you'll have to remember for your test. Oh, JK, that's a 30, 60, 90, and we are totally talking about a 45, 45, 90 triangle. I know that in order to get from a side length to a hypotenuse, I'm going to multiply by radical 2. So if my y was 7, in order to go from a 7 to a hypotenuse, I need to multiply by radical 2. And because those aren't like terms, x would just be 7 radical 2.